So, how was Disneyland?
It was magical.
Like me?
If you can, yeah, sure. If you can get a chance, if you're a Disney fan, you can get a chance, or even if you're not, and you haven't been in so long, if you can get a chance to get a ticket and get a reservation and go now, do it, because it'll be the least stressful Disneyland trip you'll ever go on.
So obviously, because they can't have as many people in there, the lines are shorter. But like, are the rides like not taking as many people? Like, do they have to do like every other row of seat on like Indiana Jones or something?
Yeah, kind of. But the thing is, because it's so reduced and it's so big between two parks, like the longest wait was maybe 30 minutes.
What
But
ride was that for?
Space Mountain?
Okay, that sounds about right. 30 minutes
like,
for Space Mountain's good, dude. God damn.
Like yeah,
and that's
exactly.
normally
So
a ride you can't get a fast pass for unless you go like the second you have to like run there the second the place opens.
Exactly. So welcome to this week's edition of Disneyland Podcast. We are your hosts. Oh shit, wrong. Okay, my bad, wrong podcast. It's Town Tailgate. That's what we're talking about. Hi.
We're talking about Disneyland because the reason why the episode is a day late this week is because Julio went to Disneyland on Wednesday night or on Wednesday.
And
the draft was yesterday.
And you were in the nation's capital.
I was there a day later, so I guess it kind of worked out. I was supposed to come back Tuesday, but that didn't happen.
Good times.
Did a lot of cool morning runs to the Washington monuments, which was pretty fun. Had a fun trip.
Did anybody say on your left at all when you were running?
No. Well, maybe. I had my headphones on the entire time. Yeah. I should have quoted that in my Instagram posts. Now I regret it, but whatever. We'll move on. On to baseball. This week's
a lot to talk about today.
Yes, we do have a lot to talk about. Umpires around the league suck. Matt Olson continues his amazing streak. Mike Fiers is back, along with a couple other roster moves. And then we're going to talk about an interesting little piece of stat that Julio has recognized in the past 2 weeks about a certain part of our batting order that is not living up to the challenge. So we'll get into all of that a little bit later. But first, we had a no-hitter, Julio?
I'm calling it. It's a no-hitter.
No, I'm not calling it a no-hitter. The rules specifically in the rules, it specifically says 9 innings pitched or more. That's literally what it says specifically in the rules. I heard this on the radio the other day. Jeff Passan was talking about it. It specifically says 9 or more innings pitched is the equivalent of a no-hitter. So 7 innings is not a no-hitter. I'm sorry. I'm not being a hater. I'm just like, that's just what the rules are.
So for those of you who missed it, Madison Bumgarner, during a doubleheader between the Atlanta Braves and the Arizona Diamondbacks, in the second game threw a complete 7-game no-hitter. And it was just a bad day for the Braves overall because I believe they only got like 2 hits in the first game, so just not great. And now it's just this whole controversy of should it be counted? Should it not be counted? Chris, I know you're in the boat of it shouldn't be. I'm in the boat of it should be, for the sake of this is a really weird rule in general of just the 7-hitter. Like there wasn't a 7-hitter because of there was a weather delay or because of whatever. This is because like, hey, it was a doubleheader. This is part of the new rule and regulation that's been implemented in this last year plus. So if you want to count it, go for it. But if I would say to appease the people of saying that's bullshit, put like an asterisk. Be like, hey, this happened during only a 7-inning game. By rules, it is technically not a no-hitter. But at the same time, Madison Bumgarner doesn't deserve this. So
why don't you just
that's a hit or me?
Why don't you just put it on his career stat line? He had a game where he had 7 innings and didn't allow any hits. A complete game of 7 innings where he didn't allow any hits. I just can't call it a no-hitter. Like that just doesn't. I'm not down for that cause, especially it's like pitchers with wins. How many innings do you have to pitch again? It's 5 innings or something like that. I want to say it's 5.
Yes.
So you have to complete 5 innings in order to get the win as a starting pitcher. Like, there's a reason why these very specific wording in the Major League Baseball rule book is worded that way, is because they had to think a lot about it. And this has never been an issue for 100+ years, but now it's an issue because this rule change. I mean, like it's really what it is. It's the, I don't want to say cancel culture because that's not the right wording at all, but you get what I'm going with it. It's like the social media era of everybody has a voice, so someone has to be fired up about something and express their opinion if they're not happy about something. That's really what all this is. If this happened 20 years ago, it would be like maybe a story for like local radio in Arizona, and then for a day, and then we'd move on past it and never think about it again. To be honest with you, I probably will never think about it after this episode. That'll be it.
So it's funny that you say if this happened 10, 20 years ago, we wouldn't be thinking about it, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Which, maybe we won't. Who knows? But we still talk about the Tuck rule 20 years later.
Well,
obviously, that's a whole different, that's a different story. That's a different story.
Yeah.
But it's like this obscure rule that out of nowhere, we're like, this is kind of stupid. Why has this thing even been here in the first place? And then now it's not really, or like this was a thing the whole time where how many people knew, like before Jeff Basson spoke about it, did you know that a full 9 innings had to be completed for a no-hitter?
No, I mean, I had a feeling, but no.
Like, this is such a rare thing to happen. I'm kind of in the boat. And it's like, and this kind of a bigger problem with baseball is like, the sport is constantly evolving, and there's a lot of people who don't want it to, and just holding on to the little things that could be, because it's still like, yeah, this wasn't a thing 100 years ago. I'm like, yeah, there were people of color playing in the leagues.
Sure.
So the sport's it's changing. It's obviously going to be changing. There's going to be a lot of stuff, especially with the MLB PA deal coming up at the end of the year, which we're going to talk about a lot more in a couple more segments. Things are going to be changing. And it's like, I think honestly, this whole big three we have going today is just about the league change, or just the game changing.
Yeah. And, I actually like a lot of the new rules, to be honest with you. I like the runner on second in extra innings. I like, I don't know. I'm blanking on some of them, but I do like a lot of the rules. But the 7-inning doubleheader is that one kind of is annoying. I forget about it a lot of times. There was the A's had their no-hitter they had a couple weeks ago. During the first game, I forgot, and I was just like it was like bottom 7 and they won. I'm like, what? This is over? Like, what the hell? I thought we only got 2 innings.
Oh, yeah. To quote, because we have to do our quota of our weekly Moneyball podcasts, our Moneyball reference, adapt or die.
Yeah, that's it.
Also, we tangent. This year is going to be the 10-year anniversary of Moneyball coming out. I feel like we got to do a special pod in September.
Hell yeah. We definitely
mark your calendars, folks. All right.
Maybe we'll be big enough we can get Jonah Hill on. Psych.
Here's Royce Clayton, who played Miguel Tejada.
Yeah. That's weird that you know who that is.
Royce Clayton, yeah, because he was a
former ball player. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, we're not going to get the actual guy who was in there. He used to play baseball as a shortstop, so we're going to get a different shortstop.
Well, I mean, he has like 2 lines, so like, I mean, you need to get someone who. There are a couple baseball scenes for him, so you need to get someone who looks somewhat competent. You can't get like a Chris Pratt and teach him how to play shortstop. Like, that would be difficult.
Maybe we could get Chris Pratt.
Oh, you're not a fan of Chris Pratt? Okay.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Anyway, moving on. This is a story. So why don't you pitch the story? Because I didn't even hear this one.
Yeah, this was going around virally. It's so weird to say that, virally. But speaking of different rule changes that are happening in an independent league called the Pioneer League, they adapted a new rule where there will not be extra innings. Instead, there's going to be a sudden death home run off. The reason I put this on here, because we're both fans of Le Batard, the gang, I saw so many people retweeting this and tagging Stu Gods.
Was this one of his ideas? Is one of his
well, like this this does sound like some Stugotz
This
shit.
sounds dead on Stugotz's idea, and Mike Ryan was probably all over it on top of that too.
Yeah, like this is ridiculous, and it just sounds so much fun. So pretty much like what this isn't plausible in the majors. I think we can agree on that, right?
No, there's no fucking way anybody would be cool with this. I would hate this personally. I would be interested to see it in the minors and go watch one, like hoping that like I hope this game goes into overtime so I could watch this, but like not in an actual baseball game. Like fuck no. If my team lost to a home runoff, I'd be fucking livid.
Now, got to play devil's advocate, right? NHL has had standard overtime, and then what? After 2 overtimes, they go into shootouts, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So why not be like, all right, well, we're going to play up to 13 innings. And then after the 13 innings, if nobody is scoring, then home run off.
Well, the difference is that in hockey, it's a point system for the standings. It's not just win and loss record / win percentage. So in hockey, when you lose in a shootout, so after double overtime in a shootout, you still get 1 point. So it's like you get a tie, like the equivalent of like if you guys are EPL fans in EPL, a win is 3 points. So they do a point system as well. A win is 3 points, loss is 0, and a tie is 1. So you still get a point for that. Where in baseball, that's not the situation. You have to reinvent the entire standing system, which you could do. It's probably a better idea to do a point system, but that's just like a whole different. You're going down a rabbit hole of a bunch of different changes on top of that. And I think, but that's kind of what the runner on second base is. It's a very similar situation where it's kind of like it's forcing runs to be had because we've watched. I mean, how many like 18 inning overtime A's games have we seen where there's no runs for 9 extra innings? Like this runner on second kind of like pushes that, and now we see runs all the time in extra innings. And it's like, all right, now we got to match it. As a home team, you have the advantage. You have to match it the next inning. A home runoff, no, fuck that. There's no advantage there. Like if you're the home team, you don't have, I don't know. I just I'm not down for that. Not down for it all.
I will. The one thing that I would think is good out of it, to be honest, I don't like it. Like I don't want it in the majors. I think as much of a circus it would be annoying to be like, that's how your team lost. Like imagine if it was a 1-1 game and your starter threw like a complete game, but you still lost because of a home run off. Like I'd be pissed. But I think there is probably something they should look into in terms of what else they can do in the extra innings, because the way modern day baseball is played, you can't be burning out arms playing 18 inning games anymore. You can't do that. Like just how teams manage bullpens, how majority of starters don't go 7 innings anymore. Like you got to find a way to start protecting arms more and more. So like like I'm a big proponent of like always throwing ideas and just seeing if shit sticks, because it's like, yeah, this didn't stick, but maybe there's something from watching it play that go through that you can start implementing. So maybe of having we talked about the 18 inning games, maybe having like a 14 inning cutoff and then doing something from there. Because at the end of like, you got to adapt with the game, man. Also, it's weird that the US, like American sports, are the only organization really in the world that is not okay to tie.
Yeah. I mean,
besides the NHL, but
look, I can't speak to that because I hate ties. So you're preaching to the wrong audience, but I do hear you. I do hear, as a soccer fan, it's just like, it's whatever. But it drives me crazy when Liverpool ties to like Manchester United on a Saturday morning. It's just like, it doesn't really do much for our standings. You know what I mean?
Especially for someone like you, where it's like, you got to get up hella early if you're going to watch those games. You're like, I just wasted my time. It's like, great.
I wish I remembered it, but last week ESPN, I listen to ESPN Daily every day. And Pablo Torre had on Jeff Passan, and they were talking about ways in which to like speed up the pace of the game. And Jeff Passan, he had heard this idea, so it wasn't his idea, but he had brought it up on the podcast where he said like a certain amount of your roster positions should be position players, and then you have to have at minimum like 10 pitchers or something like that, because that will speed up the game in terms of you're running out of substitutes after a while, so you're not slowing down the game in that way. You're like, you only have a certain amount of pitchers you can throw out there. I don't know how it relates, but I just, it's interesting how it's like, it feels like deja vu, because it feels like I just heard this conversation last week.
Start emphasizing more on two-way players.
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be tight. Like
more Anthony Rizzo's.
Hey, Frederick!
Yeah,
I got you, Frederick.
All right, so the last story, the big three. This is a big one. This is one that had us fired up a couple days ago. So I don't know how much our listeners have been watching around the league other than just the A's games, but umpiring, it seems like to be more controversial in this first month of the league than it ever has in the past. And we're just seeing blown calls after blown calls, like not even just strikes and balls, but everything obvious decisions. And they're always what's the word I'm looking for? Opinion calls, for lack of a better word. I don't know what the phrase is. It's not just like straight up black and white, like safe or out. It's a lot of human element calls that are just being completely fucked up. So if you watch the A's game against the Rays on Tuesday, was it Montas pitching?
Yes.
It was Montas pitching. The A's were up 2-1. There was 2 strikes, correct?
It was a 2-2 count.
2 strikes on it wasn't Meadows, it was someone else.
I think it was
it wasn't Kiermaier.
Phillips.
Someone with long hair.
Phillips.
Yeah, Phillips. 2 strikes on Phillips. Montas throws a ball that's like a good 6 inches inside the strike zone on the right side of the zone. Like it was pretty decently a strike, and it's called a ball. Montas is like pissed off, so it's 3-2 count. Pitches the next pitch. Phillips just fucking yards it, just hits the shit out of the yard. 2-run home run, puts the Rays up 3-2. Absolutely egregious call. Absolutely egregious. Completely lost us the game. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was okay. A's ended up losing that game. But wait, there's more. We saw what happened Monday, where there was a play at the plate, really close call with Elvis Andrus tagging up, and umpires ruled him out. They showed the replay on the Jumbotron and Tropicana. Everybody saw, okay, he was safe.
Clearly safe.
John Boyd did a fantastic breakdown, just saying like, he's like, the good way to measure it, which I've never really thought about this. The good way to measure close play at the plate, what's a catcher's like glove hitting the runner, is when you start seeing wrinkles on their shirt, on the jersey. That's you can tell when the connection's hitting.
Yeah.
And he's like, he is significantly in before those wrinkles start happening. They called him out. Thankfully, they still won that game.
Yeah,
but that just shows you
it didn't cost them the game like it did the next day, but still.
But that looks like this is probably, there's probably some advanced numbers to it, but there's probably going to be a thing where it's like every other blown call that's going against you, you're going to lose that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it seems like. But then there's another terrible call that happened this week. This time it didn't happen to the A's. It was during the Brewers-Marlins game. I believe it was Wednesday or Tuesday. Sure, hope you may have seen this clip around as well. What happened was there was a little drip. The Marlins hitter, I can't remember who it was, little dribbler back to the pitcher. Brewers pitcher picked it up, kind of jogged back to first, and he was an easy out. Underhands it to the first baseman. First baseman tags out. He's out.
It was like a good
3
feet. Like he tagged it basically 3 feet before the runner even touched first base.
Yeah, nobody was going to be safe on that call.
No.
But what happened was in the process of like slowing down his jog, and he bumped into the runner, and the umpire called it pitcher's interference. So
I wouldn't call it a bump, Julio. I would call it a lightly grazed.
Yeah, just like a graze, like you're walking by someone in a hallway, and it's like,
the loose part of his pants, like he's wearing baggy pants. The loose part of it lightly grazed his foot, his leg, his calf as he's running by.
So yeah, pitcher's interference. It was pretty much a good analogy for it is like if a PI is called in football and it was like an uncatchable ball. It's like there was no way this guy, even if at his fastest speed, whoever the runner was, wasn't going to make it to first. But because of pitcher's interference, he got bumped into it, which is pretty funny. I don't know if you saw this clip. Last night's Dodgers game, same thing happened where it was like little dribbler to the pitcher and it was Trevor Bauer on the mound. And as soon as he tosses the ball up to the Muncie or whoever was at first, he just completely runs out of the way and then looks over at the umpire and like points at him like, oh, I'm not, because it was the same umpire. Just like, I'm not touching him. Not touching him.
Good. He should be trolling those fuckers.
Holy crap. What do we do? Like what happens?
So I think so. The immediate complaint after the Elvis Andrus called out at home play on Monday, the immediate response on social media on Twitter was talking about replay review and how replay review is basically a joke in MLB, which is clear as day. I think it's like 3% of replay challenges get overturned. Like it's just bad. And there's been more clear cut evidence in replay review that obviously should be overturned. There's way more clear examples than what we saw on Monday with the Andrus play. And they don't even get called. And I could go on a completely separate thing with replay review. It's just like, I don't know who the fuck is in that New York booth. I don't know what they're seeing. I don't know if they don't have the video access that these networks do. Cause I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I just don't know. I don't know if there's just a bunch of morons in there who are 80 years old who don't know how to use technology and computers. I don't know what it is, but the fact that they can get that shit wrong that much and be that stubborn to defend the umpires is just a fucking joke. But what pisses me off the most, which kind of got overlooked on Monday and then kind of got brought back full circle the next day when that 2-strike clearly should have been a strikeout, third strike call got missed, was the umpire during that home plate play was standing right there, had a very clear view. There was no one in the area. He was splitting the middle of the catcher and of Andrus running home. He had the best view you could get, and he still called it wrong. I don't know if there's maybe there's a MLB conspiracy, just trying to fuck over the A's as much as possible because they outed the Astros and kind of put them into just this whirlwind of bad PR for the past 2 years. I don't know. That's obviously kind of a joke, but potentially true. I don't know what it is, but that was just egregious. And then the Brewers thing, I mean, that's just, I don't know. That's just stubbornness. It's just maybe he's just trying to prove that he needs these players to show that he's the fucking man on I don't know. It's just, it's a joke, dude. And you look at the average age of a lot of these umpires and they are fucking old. That's the only thing I can think of that's really relative to the reason why it's this bad is just stubborn back in my day. This is how my way or the highway type of mentality. That's the only thing I can think of. That's literally the only thing.
Oh man, I'm 40 years old. I don't know. The thing is, as fans, we don't know enough on what the actual replay process looks like when they call it in. We've seen it with the NBA, and I think the one thing the NBA has done awesome this season is they actually have the refs explain, like in the NFL, they have the refs explain the call when it's out there. Then instead of baseball, they're just burp, burp, burp. And that's it. They need to put these guys to show what's your logic? This is why this person's out. Okay. Why? Can you put some facts behind it? Because it's with that Elvis play, he's obviously safe. I think another thing that could be possible because we don't know what this process looks like is to eliminate any bias. Whenever the calls do get sent to New York or wherever their replay studios, I think it's New York, they need to not know what the call on the field was. They need to just go in without bias.
Who made that point on Twitter? That was a brilliant
point. I forgot who that was too.
I want to say it was Jeff Passan, but I don't think it was Jeff Passan. It was a national writer. I remember seeing that and just being like, wow, that's a great idea.
Just no bias. Hey, this is the play.
Yeah.
What's your call? You have the technology.
Mm-hmm.
Because another thing I think we need to do better with too is, look, I understand Tropicana Field isn't the nicest stadium. Neither is Oakland. Neither is like Angel Stadium, even whatever. But you gotta start equipping better cameras in there.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta, I like it. And this NX, and this kind of goes back to the point I was making at the beginning of the pod. This next MLBPA deal that's coming up, I think a few things you obviously got to focus on is taking care of yourself. But in terms of improve the play, I'm like, you got to be like, yo, we want cameras here, here, and here for umpiring for these replays, because time and time again, even though this is still a new process, it's a 10-year-old, if that, thing that they're doing, probably less. So there's going to be some bumps in the road, but it's like there seems to be no improvement throughout this time. It's okay to have those bumps if we can see there's progress with it. But the fact that I think didn't we talk about like the overturn percentage is so minimal right now?
It's like egregiously low.
Yeah. And it's just showing you like this isn't how it should be. And the fact that Bob Melvin, who's one of the most mellow dudes and one of the most mellow managers, he got tossed because he was that pissed, should show you they're that upset.
Yeah.
It's like when you have if you have a dad that's like pretty fun and mellow, and when your dad's upset, you're like, oh, now you fucked up.
Yeah.
So like MLB umpiring, dad's upset. Like you gotta clean this shit up.
Another thing I noticed, so obviously like the replay booth has the final call, but in every other league, basketball, football, soccer with VAR, the referee on the field does have a say in like what the final call should be, and they talk through with the replay booth about like what they're kind of seeing. Like in the NBA, they walk over to the courtside booth and they pull out the monitor and they're talking with the guys in Secaucus or wherever they are, and discussing how like what the right call to review is. In baseball, they don't do that. They just put on the headphones, they just sit there and they just wait. And it's like, well, maybe we can get a little bit of a different point of view if we let those guys who are on the field like kind of give their 2 cents. And maybe an umpire in a different part of the field, maybe the first base umpire got a view of it a little bit better than the home plate umpire, and maybe he can kind of weigh in like, no man, that was he was out, like there was like a good like 6 inches between hit the tag and him touching the plate. Like that it just might be a little bit different. I don't it's a joke. It's a joke. And I'm going to continue to bitch about it until they fucking change it.
Oh, we all then, as it should be. It's as it should be. That's a nice transition. We talked about how the A's screwed over. So let's just talk about the Oakland A's now.
Yeah, sure.
So we had some interesting stuff that's happened this past week. We're going to go through these and then we'll talk a little bit about them afterwards. If you did not see it yesterday during the Tampa series, the finale, Matt Olson was out because of a freak injury where he lined a foul ball in the batting cage off of his eye. Yeah. It doesn't. So they took X-rays. Things came back negative. He's got like a pretty gnarly black eye, but it sounds like he's going to be okay. So thank God. Tonight, we have the season debut of Mr. Mike Fiers. He's going to be on the mound. Looks like they're going to be rolling with the 6-man rotation for a hot minute. They have signed Cam Bedrosian formerly of the Los Angeles / Anaheim / California Angels. His relief pitcher, signed into a minor league deal. And then last but not least, Adam Kolarek has been optioned to the alternate site. Little interesting. Where do we go from here? What's kind of stood out the most to you out of all this stuff? The Kolarek thing's kind of interesting because it looked like he was kind of starting to pick it up.
That's where I want to start. So he hasn't really had too many appearances in the first place. So I don't feel like there's enough of a sample size to really like make a decision on him, which I thought was weird. I know he had one really bad outing on Sunday against the Orioles. I think it was on Sunday against the Orioles, but yeah, I was really high on him when they made that trade. So I don't know. I don't know what they're planning to do with that spot. I mean, it's going to go to Fiers. Obviously they're going to do the 6-man rotation, which is weird. I get it. Cause they're They have a lot of consecutive games and a lot of because they have a nice little home stretch for about 2 weeks, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was odd. The Cam Bedrosian thing, I don't even know who the fuck that guy is. You had to tell me a little bit about him before this episode. Maybe we can talk to Joe. John, sorry, a little bit, and maybe he can give us some insight. But yeah, I don't know enough about him.
I can give you a quick little rundown on him. He was with the Angels for a while, from 2014 to 2020. He was with the Reds, signed in the minor league deal in this offseason, didn't do too great. He's 2018, he had a 3.8 ERA. 2019, he had a 3.23. And then in 2020, he had a 2.45. So I think there is some potential with him.
Yeah.
And it is showed that, like, you know, if you're having that kind of ERA in the majors as a reliever, then hell yeah, I think you got some stuff. But also he was in Anaheim, and it seems like they're starting to get things together now, bullpen wise. But for this last 4 or 5 years, that's where like you go to die as a reliever.
But we also have guys who kind of have earned that spot more, like Dalton Jeffries. You know, who knows when AJ Puck's going to come back? I'd rather see those guys there, especially for their development for the future. Yeah, I don't know.
The weird thing, it's a minor league deal, so let's see if anything even comes out of this.
Yeah.
But to kind of finish up with this Kolarek point, when we had Martin on last week, he brought up the point when we were talking about Romo, which is like, look, these guys are vets. He's a veteran. They're going to give him his time, right? Yeah. They're going to give him his time before they make any decisions on what to do next with him. And Adam Kolarek, you know, he's only been in the majors since 2017, but still, you got to give this guy, I thought they would have given him a little more leash. It's going to be interesting too, now that, you know, Cole Overton's been great this last month now and then Fiers is going to be healthy. I think this seems more of like okay, what do we do with these guys now? So I wouldn't be shocked if, like, by the end of May, Kolarek's back up and then they're going to figure out what to do with, I know we're not the biggest fans of Guerrera. Can't remember how to pronounce his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll see. It's an interesting move either way.
Yeah.
But
I you know, obviously you need to trust everybody in the bullpen, but I feel like we definitely have our core group of, like, there's like 4 guys where you really trust that I'm not really too concerned. You know, Wendelken and Petit are really like shoring up the middle relief, and I feel very confident every time they go out there. And then, you know, Trevino and Diekman have been pretty lights out at the end. So we'll see. You know, definitely need a 5 to 6 man reliable bullpen when you get into the playoffs. But, you know, we got some time to figure that out. And yeah, anyway.
Yeah. And and honestly, I think that's what makes this team so good is like, all right, we have Bassett. Here, I'm looking at the pen real quick. We've got Bassett, Petit, Trevino, Wendelken. That's 4 guys we know we can count on. There's not many teams that can say that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was looking at Bassett. Diekman, Petit, Trevino, Wendelken. We're like, all right, we know what we're going to get out of them. Yeah. How many teams can say they have that 4 relievers that they're like, cool?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a luxury. So, like, fuck, if that's why having to kick the tires on somebody like Bedrosian or seeing if Fiers can work out of the pen or if Puck, like, that's a great benefit to have. And it's something that things can be good in the long run.
Yeah. So I think let's talk about the rotation next. I'm happy to have Fiers back. I mean, we need some reliability to go with those guys. So, I mean, like, obviously, like, Luzardo's really turning around. So that's good. Hopefully he can keep that going. Bassett has been extremely reliable the past 3 starts. I know he started off rough the first 2, but, you know, he's still Chris Bassett and he's Mr. Reliable. Shalmanaya is having the year of his career. So it'd be nice to get a little more, you know, little help consistency wise, because Montas is still Montas. He's like so hit or miss. So, like, yeah, it's just it you know, when he starts, you know, like when Montas starts, it's nice to know that Fiers is gonna be starting the next day and be like, okay, cool, we give ourselves a shot. If we get a loss today, we get ourselves a shot tomorrow to kind of, like, you know, take back the series or something like that. Whereas, like, Cole Irvin's been great, but, you know, he's still Cole Irvin. Like I didn't necessarily have that like kind of mindset when he would trot out there the day after.
And yeah, it's starting to seem like to me. Well, first off with Fiers, yeah, happy he's back because it's like, you know what you're gonna get. He's not a super high ceiling guy. Mm-hmm. He's not gonna go. Oh, he threw no hitter, but he's not gonna be like a 7 innings, 8 innings guy, one hitter throwing gas. We know that. Yeah. But we also know, like, you know, maybe he'll go like 6 innings to give up 4 runs, which you'll take. It's better than just a complete explosion kind of thing. Mm-hmm. He's pretty middle of ground guy. But yeah, with Montas, he looked really good against Tampa on Tuesday night. And then, you know, shit hit the fan with that blown call. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be interesting. Obviously, you want arms. We just talked about that. As many arms as you can, especially in the long season and the postseason. But he's starting to seem like the most expendable of the bunch, which is like really weird to say if you kind of consider where we thought he was over these last couple of years.
Mm. I mean, he's good in like the first 3 innings, so maybe that's a sign. Maybe he can be a bullpen guy. I don't know. I mean, I'm not willing to give up on him yet. You know, I don't know. Anyway, Matt Olson, he's been hot. Yeah, I mean, he'll be out a couple games, but he'll be back. Sounds like he just got a black eye.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But I think
injury, but yeah, and you know, he got pulled yesterday. Luckily, Matt Chapman had a great game and was able to kind of like rally the guys around that and pick up for the slack. But if we lose Matt Olson, man, like that's going to be, we were talking about this before the game yesterday. That's going to be brutal because he's just really like, he's the one who's driving in all these runs. Like, you know, Canna and Lauer are still doing their thing, but they need someone to bring them home, you know, and we're going to get into it after the break, but like the bottom of the order has been atrocious and you just need that consistency from that 4-hitter.
And I think the great thing about at least the series with Matt Olson, besides getting completely plowed by former Oakland great Dick Mountain, aka Rich Hill, he was doing a lot of the little things. He wasn't like, I think that was Wednesday's game. He got like 2 singles. He's not necessarily like willing. I think that's a big difference between last season and this season, where you can kind of tell he was like, yeah, I'm just going to try to hit it over. Like he doesn't need to do that. And he's kind of figured that out. So hopefully he continues that trend. Hopefully he kind of gets back quickly from that black eye.
Did you see him when they had that massive shift on him on Monday, him try to lay out a bunt to kind of show him or
play cheeky,
catch him on his heels? I thought that was awesome. I would like to see him do that more, but Dallas brought up a good point on the broadcast. He's like, it's very enticing as a lefty hitter, especially when you see that shift and there's no one on the left side of the field to just lay down a bunt and just pretty much get that automatic single. But when you're Matt Olson and no ballpark can hold you, like it's like, which one do I want to take my chances with? And it makes a good point, but I like how occasionally if he does that, it'll kind of like, you know, it'll put the defense on their heels and maybe like think twice about doing the shift. So just some numbers. He's hitting .310 in the last 7 games, .321 in the last 15. He's got 5 home runs in the last 15 games, 13 RBIs, only 8 strikeouts. Pretty good. 4 walks. So he's very important right now, I would say. And especially after that atrocious beginning. He's on the season, he's .296 with 6 home runs. If you take out that first couple weeks, like that's a MVP caliber season right there. But yeah, he'll be back soon. And you know, Chapman picked up the slack yesterday, which is good to see. I hope that starts a run for him because, like we keep saying, we only need one Matt to really be like a good ball team. But when we have both, we're fucking like lights out. To be hot. So, any last A's news before we hit the break?
Let's hit this break, man.
Let's hit it hard, baby. Hit it hard. Sorry, that was weird. All right, so stick around, and then we're going to get into our featured segment, which we're going to be talking about the bottom of the order hitters. Throw some numbers at you, maybe try and talk through what could help it out because they're not playing so well. So stick around, and we'll be right back. All right. Welcome back to the Town Tailgate, aka the Disneyland podcast. So this is, I don't know, Julio, you've been pointing this out more specifically in the past week and a half, and like the more and more I watch it, it's pretty evident. I mean, you could look at the numbers of the guys that you list in this rundown. It's pretty bad, except for maybe one of them, which is the guy we keep talking about. Like, he needs some help down there. So the name of this segment is going to be called The Black Hole, a little bit in honor of the Raiders fucking up their first round pick yesterday. Just kidding. There's a big issue with this batting order with the 7 through 9 hitters. We've been saying it all season. Ramon's kind of hit a classic Ramon slump. He still comes up in big moments, but the top of the order has been playing really well. They've been keeping us in games. It feels like every time they come up to bat, at least one run scores, knock on wood. And they're putting up runs. Matt Olson's a big part of that. Jed Lowry's a big part of that. And Mark Hanna, of course, is a big part of that. The leader in runs scored in American League. But once it gets down to the bottom of the order, it's just 3 and out every time. And it's brutal because, like, let's say the order starts at like 4 through 6. No, like 5 through 6. So like Murphy gets like a double. And then, like let's say Machine comes up next, strikes out. Kemp comes up next, strikes out. Andrews comes up next, grounds out. And it's just like, dude, this guy had a leadoff double and we're just stranding him on second. Like, we got it. Something has to change. There needs to be some more consistency at the bottom of the order. I understand that they're the bottom of the batting order, so we shouldn't expect too much out of them, but this is like bad.
And we've got the numbers to prove it.
Stat attack.
All right. In the last week, the 7 through 9 hitters in the lineup had 68 combined at bats, where they batted 161 with 5 walks, 19 strikeouts, 2 RBIs, and 3 runs scored. Not good at all. Who are the main culprits?
Man, that's bad.
Who are the main culprits of this, you say? We got Elvis Andrews, who has been not good at all to start the season in Oakland. Matt Kemp. I wish it was Matt Kemp. That'd have been cool. Tony Kemp, Aramis Garcia, when he has been filling in. Steven Piscotty, but I'll kind of give him the benefit of the doubt because he's just came back from leave. Seth Brown, who has been playing every day, and then Vishal Machine. Yeah, they're not good at all. And the thing is, like,
I don't think it's necessarily fair, just real quick, to put Piscotty on this list because he's actually been the only bright spot. And he hasn't been good, but he's been like at least somewhat coherent down there. Every once in a while he moves guys up.
But it is not a good look. Elvis has been, look, I think the thing about with Elvis and Tony Kemp, and we've talked about this a lot, is I think they've done a lot of really great things in terms of team chemistry and off-field and mentorship for a lot of these guys. They're veteran players. Elvis is a 2-time All-Star. He's been to 2 World Series. Kemp was a part of the Astros team in 2017, and he's done a lot for the community. But it's like at one point, you got to hit higher than 200 in the season. And like, because we're seeing right now, and they've been tweeting about it. A lot of people have been tweeting about it. Like, it just shows you how important Chad Pinder is, man. Because Chad Pinder, look, he's not a 300 hitter. He's not a 40 home run guy, but it's like, the motto of the episode is, the floor. You know what you're going to get out of Chad Pinder. He's going to be really tough at bat. He's going to hit at least 250, 240 or something, which frankly is better than what this is.
Yeah.
But this is also like a long-term issue. Like this, I hate to say it, Vishal Machine is not a major leaguer, at least in Oakland. He should not be on this team. Period.
I'm surprised
anymore.
to hear you say that because you've been big on Machine for the past.
I was. He had some flashes, but like right now, he shouldn't be on this team right now. Once Pinder's come back, like if you can get him into the minors, maybe great. Like he should not be in this team.
Mhm.
And like Tony Kemp is starting to get there too. With Elvis, you have to, it's like what Martin said it last week. We said it earlier. He's a veteran. You'll know what you're going to get. Give him some time. And I think with somebody like him, because of his pedigree, because of where he's been, you got to give that to him. But it's like,
we're also kind of stuck with him. Like we don't really have,
yeah.
I mean, maybe Pinder's a better option, but not defensively. Then you kind of puts us in a hole, like, organization, they made their decision and they got to stick with it. Boy, do we miss Marcus right now, but Elvis is it. And you guys got to hope he turns around. And
the thing is too, Marcus isn't playing much better either. He got to a nice little start that first week, but he hasn't been playing that great. And guess what? We're going to see him next week.
Yeah.
But it's at this point now. It's like, well, besides Pinder, what can we do? We don't like, who's our Nick Allen? They're still the future shortstop. He's not ready. He's not ready to play in the bigs. I could have been telling you who the second baseman in the minors is either.
There isn't any option.
There's no option of guys who are ready to go and contend now. So like, I have an idea.
And you can't split up the top of the order. You can't put like two of those guys at the bottom to try and like get a rhythm, because then you're taking away runs at the top of the order. They've
been so effective this year. Like those 1 through 3 hitters.
Yeah.
Even when they're having poor games, like they're still taking at bats, they're still going deep into counts.
Yeah.
Like that's what you got to do. And that's what the worst part about this is. Matt Chapman had a really good quote last week where he was saying, he's like, look, I know I've been bad and I'm notoriously a slow starter, but I know there's things I can do that can at least still be productive, which is like taking longer at bats, taking walks, whatever.
Yeah.
And that these guys aren't walking. They have 5 walks and 68 at bats. Like at least if you
strikeouts a lot, dude.
Like you can sleep at night and feel good about it if it's at least saying, okay, well, they're at least getting on base or finding ways to get on base, but they're not.
And one thing that's bothering me particularly about Andrus is that he'll get a 0-2 count and then he won't protect. He'll watch pitches and he'll strike out looking. And it's like, dude, if it's close, you got to swing and just hope that you foul it off until you get the pitch you want. Like anything close, you have to swing, and he doesn't. He just watches, hoping that the umpire is going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And you can't approach hitting that way. You can't hope that the umpire is going to give you the benefit of the doubt. You watch Mark Canha, and he looks at strikes in order to get some walks. You could tell that he does that a lot, similar to Scott Hatterberg style. But when he has 2 strikes on him, he's swinging at anything close because he does not want to strike out.
Now, my solution would be, because like besides Pinder, like this is going to be a problem. Like Pinder's going to be back. He's going to fit. He's going to help. But like, I don't see someone like Tony Kemp turning it around, and Garcia, like he's going to be there because he's the backup. And Seth Brown. Look, honestly, this whole issue is just talking about Andrus, Kemp, and Machine. If I were the A's, close to trade deadline, I'm going to find any way you can get some depth coming off in the middle infield, because like it is still a major issue. Once you get past Lowry, and then when Pinder's back, there's not much else that you can at least. You don't need to be intimidated by these guys, but at least you have some production. So here's my trade proposal. The A's are going to send Frankie Montas to Colorado for utility shortstop, second baseman, outfielder Garrett Hampson.
Do you think that you think that's us giving up too much?
Might be. I don't know what the value is going to be, but it's kind of, there's going to be a surplus of arms now at this point, and there's somebody else can get, but like I think this team's hella good, man. Like I think if they are like one piece away from going over the top of potentially being like a World Series contender for the American League, because really nobody's showing otherwise right now besides the Royals, which we called it. But like, look at all these. If you look
Red Sox.
Yeah. But if you look at, the last few years, the World Series contenders or the winners and all that stuff, they have depth. Look, like, especially looking at the Rays, where look how many guys they've been able to plug in. Like who was Brett Phillips last year? And then he became a World Series hero. Like, and that confidence to him has like boosted because of that. And now they just have like so many different bats they can throw in the lineup that, they're not going to destroy you, but they're going to make you work.
I'm looking up Garrett Hampson's numbers, and they're not very impressive for someone who hits in Coors Field.
Sure. But is it better than hitting below 200?
Machine.
Yeah, better than this mail machine. Yeah, it is, unfortunately. And that's the point. It's like, look, you don't need to have somebody who's going to be a completely game breaker. You need somebody who's going to be consistent, even if it is a low floor. You know what I mean?
So OBP is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like
but also Colorado is pretty bad.
Sure.
Yeah. But like, look at the Dodgers formula. You can tell the Dodgers have been in a funk over this last 2 weeks because it's like Zach McKinstry and I can't remember who the other bench guys are. They're going to come around, but you can tell they miss Jock. You can tell they miss Kike right now because those guys they're not going to destroy you, but you know what you're going to get. And I think that's something that can really push the A's over the top. If they can get another person besides Pinder, who you can know what the production is going to be out of.
I agree with what you're saying. I agree that they need to get a nice little utility, ideally.
Now,
but if they could,
Hampson's that was just an example player. Now I'm not focused on him, but like somebody him where you know what you're going to get.
I got you. I'm just saying. I agree with the idea. I just don't know about the person. Yeah, they need someone who can be a solid backup. Where when you see them in the lineup to give Andrus a day off, you're not like, ugh. Like every time I see Machine in the lineup, I'm just like, oh, dude, okay, really? Like that's exactly how I feel. Pinder's supposed to be that guy, but they could use another guy. I agree. Yeah, I mean that's the only way to solve this. That's literally the only way, or just to hope that 1 through 5 or 1 through 6 just starts smacking the shit out of the ball, and they can make up for the lack of production from 7 through 9. There is no in between. And if we want to be a World Series contender, we have to have depth. And right now, we thought we had depth, but turns out that we don't.
I got a good one for you.
Okay.
Jonathan Scope.
So that's who I was thinking.
Yeah.
I would love Jonathan Scope, but I don't know what his contract situation is. I don't know if he's
1 year, $4.5 million. He'll be a free agent. There you go.
That's perfect. That'd be a perfect rental right there. Yeah, I would love Jonathan Scope. Hey, Billy, go get Jonathan Scope.
And Detroit's in last, so there you go.
Yeah, and they could use. Well, they're gonna want some young pieces. Then Frankie Montas is not gonna do it for them. They're gonna want someone else. So, but I mean, we have, our farm system's not great, but we do have some guys that we could throw in there.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's that. Let's keep an eye on that, A's fans. Maybe they'll turn around. Pinder should be back soon, so hopefully he can pick up some slack there. But let's move on. All right. Let's talk about the upcoming schedule, Julio. This weekend, Friday, aka today, the day we're recording this, back to Baltimore, this time at home. Hopefully we can get revenge for that non-sweep bullshit win that they got on Sunday. And that'll be nice to kind of like, especially after splitting the series with the Rays, if we could just like stack up some more wins for our standings to cover a little bit more ground from the Mariners. That sounds weird to say. In second place. Also, we're tied for first in the American League with Boston, so it'd be nice to get some ground on there. And then next week, Monday through Wednesday, we are playing Toronto. That's a very good team we've talked about on the preview, the AL East preview. That should be a really good series. That is also at home. Keep an eye out for that. That'll be not quite the what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I don't want to say.
I really don't know the word you're looking for.
I don't want to say slugfest because not like home runs, but like it's slugfest in terms of like an epic 12-round boxing match, like it was with the Rays. But it will be an interesting battle.
Yeah, man, we're gonna see a couple old friends. Marcus first time back in Oakland after the deal. Hope he's gonna get a big reaction. Also, former Oakland A's great Tanner Roark. I don't know if he's pitching right now, but he's on the team. But then also we get to see an old Oakland enemy in George Springer. So that'll be interesting. Their
Marcus
rotation,
gets a standing ovation, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He has to. Yeah. He has to, man. If you didn't know, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is here. He's been awesome to start the year. He had a 3 home run night off of Max Scherzer the other night.
Yeah.
Bo Bichette's been awesome to start the season. And then their rotation's actually playing pitching decently. Hunter Rio isn't there, but like Steven Matz, he got rocked the other day, but he's having a really good start to the season. Yeah, I think you're right.
He got taken out of a start last week. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a fun team. The rotation is kind of a wash of just a bunch of veterans. Tommy Malone's on the team. I don't know if he's actually on the team, but good for Tommy. Dude, it's just crazy after all these years. Tommy's still playing. Out of that whole run of pitchers with like Jared Parker and like Brett Anderson. Oh, Brett Anderson's still playing, but like Tommy is the guy that's still there.
I'm most amazed that Brett Anderson's still pitching, and he's still pitching like above average, like successfully. Like he's still doing pretty well. That's a wild one.
Also, one more thing too. If you're in the Bay Area, go to these games, man. I saw on the A subreddit on StubHub tonight's games tickets were $13.
Are they really?
Yes. Dude. If you're, and I'll say, Chris and I we've both been actually went to my first baseball game this last week after a year and a half, went to a Dodger game. And Chris was at the home opener because he's got that ball. If you are fearful of COVID, which I completely understand, that was kind of holding me back. I'm fully vaccinated now. Great experience. A lot of these, they've really taken up a lot of these measures across major league stadiums.
You're outdoors. You got a lot of
you're outdoors.
You and the next person.
Big gaps of people. Yeah, go. $13. Why not?
Yeah, we got to get back to normal eventually, and that's kind of the first step. All right, let's do our player of the week.
Yeah. Who you got, Chris? Or do you want me to go first?
Sean Murphy. He is having a huge. Is that yours? Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Right,
okay. I'll think of somebody.
I'll pick a different one. So you could talk about him. Right. I'll pick Matt Chapman. Big bounce back game yesterday.
There we go.
Huge home run. Hopefully this is the start of something consistent. We need him, especially if Olson's going to be out for a couple games. We need him badly because he's probably going to be hitting 4. And then Murphy will probably stay at 5. But yeah, we need him. So Matt Chapman. All right. So Sean Murphy, here you go. Both sides of the plate, both sides of the field.
Yeah, man. He practically won the game for the team on Monday night. He hit, I think, or was it Wednesday night? I can't remember. Or it was Monday night. He hit a home run that they're like, oh yeah, it would have been out at every single stadium. And like his average, he's hit 240 in the last week, which is like, cool, we'll take it. Especially in how slow of a start he had hitting 2 home runs. The strikeout numbers are still a little high, which that's just our team. Mm-hmm. But yeah, defensively, he freaking
the sliding catch that he made. Oh my God, that was so sick. Bounce off his glove and like just swoops it about like 6 inches from the ground and catches it. So great.
Yeah, he looks like he's really comfortable. He in the 4-hole yesterday. He wasn't successful, but he into the 4-hole yesterday with Ollie out. So like, it's just showing, I think the team is starting to see it. Bomel, especially, is like, he's starting to get it. He's starting to click. So hopefully this trend continues. We've had such high expectations for him coming into the season. Mm-hmm. He can easily be like the best catcher in the American League if he wants to be. And I think it's just,
sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah. I think it's just like, you gotta once don't do weird health injuries or rare freak injuries. But just like being consistent behind the plate, being consistent, like hitting, even if it is like a 250, 260, but if you're going to be hitting bombs like that, we'll take it, man.
Yeah, it's especially after the amazing rookie season we had. We all know, he's going to be our third best player. It was just a matter of when he's going to start showing up. And I think this is the moment when it's going to be like, all right.
You'd put him over Ramon?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
Definitely put him over Ramon. Ramon's too inconsistent for me, man. I just, that shit drives me crazy. He's like, 1 week he's the best player in baseball, and next week he's just like a fucking dud. He's got to figure that out. On the defense, he's consistent always. He's always great there.
Yeah.
But Sean Murphy, yeah. If we can go into a playoff series with 3 stars, Like that's when you know like you're a heavy hitter. Like, 2 stars is great, but 3 stars, like I'm just thinking about all like the great teams in the past like 10 seasons that have won World Series, and just like that's the recipe for it. Like last year, like Dodgers, Muncy, Bellinger, Mookie, like those 3 guys are just gonna they're gonna scare any pitcher on the other side.
And Seager, I'd put Seager over Muncy, but then also look at Will Smith. Stud catcher finally came up. Like that's
I mean,
the
like a
framework.
star though, someone you're gonna put on, someone like on the other side of the country, you're gonna see on like posters. You know what I mean? Like MLB like posters.
Yeah,
like it's a little bit different. It's like kind of like the NBA style. Anyway, let's move on to Essential Tailgate Tool of the Week. Who is
man.
Your ETT.
Before we do go into it,
so
let's run through last week's.
Yeah.
Chris, you did a pretty good one. Jake Diekman, he pitched 3 innings. He gave up no runs, no hits, 3 strikeouts. He got a win and a save. And best of all, he lowered his ERA a little bit. So, Chris, pat yourself in the back.
But
he
didn't win.
He didn't pitch a lot.
He didn't win the closer job. It looks like Lou's taking that job. But he did do well. I was hoping that I picked this pick hoping that he would win the closer job, but I don't know. I think he's just an 8th inning guy. That's just what it is. And Lou's been doing great too, so I'm not upset with it at all.
No, not at all. Even though it is funny. It is funny just watching fantasy ad drops where like once a week it's like Ollie fans drops Lucci Vino ads Jake Diekman. Next week, Ollie fans drops Jake Diekman.
Dude, I gave up on that. I'm not doing that anymore. So I have Ian Kennedy, and he's been on my bench, and he's been killing it as a closer for
Texas.
For Texas, he's got 4 saves. So I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just gonna leave him in there. I already have Liam Hendricks, best closer in the league. So like those 2 guys will get it for me.
Not right now, not this season.
Okay. Anyway, I got those 2 guys, so I'm good. I'll be all right.
And then my tailgate,
yours didn't work out so well.
Yeah, Elvis Andrews. We went 4 for 19. He hit 210, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, 2 runs, scored. We've already said, look, 210 is higher than the 1 something he's hitting during the season. He's below the Mendoza line, so I'll take this as a win. It's not a good win, but as a win.
Yeah, sure. So,
but
do you have the balls to pick him again this week?
Elvis, double down. No, I'll go and lead off. Actually, to me, I like Jesus Luzardo. He's pitching tomorrow in Oakland against Baltimore. It looks like he's starting to kind of get his groove again. Mm-hmm. And I know Sunday he actually pitched. He actually pitched a pretty good game on Sunday in Baltimore, but unfortunately, no run support. John Means just completely shut down his offense that day. I think this is going to be a revenge game for him. He's got the glasses back on. Murph is behind the plate now, healthy. I think now we're going to start seeing him hit a stride, and it's going to start tomorrow against Baltimore in Oakland.
They didn't score a run till the 9th inning, right? So like
it was horrible.
Their starter really shut us down, which
that
was a hell of an outing. I will say I'm not even too upset about it. It wasn't that like the A's hitters didn't show up. That was just one hell of a pitching.
Yeah, and he still had a good game. He went like 6 innings. Yeah, he only gave up 3 runs. He had like 8 strikeouts. Like he still had a pretty good game. It's just like A's got shut down. Chris, who you got?
Mine's Sean Murphy because he's going to probably have to hit 4 or 5. I would rather have him hit 4 than Chapman because Chapman needed to see another good outing of his to really trust him at the 4 hole. So it's in terms of batting order wise, it's Sean Murphy to fill Matt Olson's spot, which is some big shoes to fill lately. We need to see that power. We need to bring those runs home because we know that Lowry and Canna are going to do their thing. They're going to get on base, but they need to be brought home. So if Murphy can just hold down the fort for a couple games until Olson comes back, that's a good sign. And then when Olson comes back, that'd be a deadly 4 and 5 hitting lineup. So it's Sean Murphy.
I dig it. Yeah. Hopefully, not to shoot down your case. Hopefully it's not him because Ollie's fine and he's going to be back tonight or tomorrow, but we'll see.
I agree. But if this is like in the case that he's not, it's he's going to be important for that. All right, Julio, that's going to do it for the Town Tailgate this week. Do you have any final concerns, thoughts, or I said that wrong. Thoughts, concerns, comments, questions, or concerns?
No, but may the 4th be with you.
Oh shit, that's coming up. I get my second shot on the 4th. So I'm going to be sick for Cinco de Mayo. Oh, that sucks.
Cinco de Drinko.
All right, everybody.
Let's wrap it up.
We'll talk to you next week. Last but not least, Julio.
Let's go, Oakland.
Oh, yeah. The Town Tailgate is an independently produced podcast. It is written and executive produced by this guy, Chris Madrigal, and my partner in crime, Julio Reynoso. It is sound mixed and edited by yours truly. Social media management and marketing is run by, once again, my partner, Julio Reynoso. And a special thanks and shout out to my brother, Larry Madrigal, for composing and producing our theme song, as well as graphic designing our album cover and artwork. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Please tune in next week. Please subscribe. And last but not least, as we always say, let's go, Oakland.